Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. Happy Saturday, everybody. I hope your day and your weekend are going very well so far. Got a new day, which of course means a new NBA player prop video to share with you guys. But first, as always, people, please make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. It helps the channel grow, and it really does mean a ton to us. With a new day comes some new opportunities to go ahead and make some money. I have 4 NBA player props to go ahead and share with you guys in tonight's NBA slate. But first, before we dive into today's picks, we do have to do a quick little recap of how he did last night. And guys, oh so close, but no cigar. 5-leg parlay. Now, unfortunately, and it's so funny that I said it in the video yesterday. I was like, taking Zion scares me a little bit. I don't know why. Well, I found out why. He got suspended from the team for missing the flight. He's just baby Embiid at this point. Like, Zion and Embiid, it's big brother, little brother in terms of, like, missing time. And I know injuries play a part in it, but they're very much in the similar, like, circumstances. Like, it's very funny. I guess, actually, kind of sad, I guess you could say. But anyways, we did have 4 legs of that 5-leg parlay graded. 3 out of 4 legs hit. The only prop that didn't hit, Isaiah Hartenstein, over 24.5 points plus rebounds plus assists. A little typo there. He finished with 21 points plus rebounds plus assists. Unfortunately, when a guy only takes about 6 or 7 shots a game, it's not very good when he shoots less than 40% from the floor. So unfortunately, the other props, we nailed them all. I mean, Jaylen Brown almost cashed that in points alone. Vucevic almost cashed his line in the first half, and Pascal Siakam blew through that line. Again, it is a loss, unfortunately. Another losing day. This week has been a little bit of a disaster for us here on the NBA player prop series. But if we could take any sort of moral victories from yesterday, it's the fact that we had pretty good data, and we were, for the first time, it feels like in a little bit, we were on the money, right? Siakam, we nailed that play. We could have taken the regular line, and it would have hit. All these other plots we hit. I mean, we're on the money with them, absolutely. Let's go ahead and see if we can build off the positive momentum that were those few couple winning picks yesterday and parlay that into some really good winning plays in today's video. I like the spots today. We got 4 really solid single bet player props. I'll also be posting an NBA player prop parlay on my Instagram and TikTok later, so make sure to go ahead and follow me there at Tassos Picks. We put probably a little later in the day, around 3:30, 4 o'clock. We're gonna have an NBA player prop parlay going on over there on the Instagram/TikTok page. But all right, guys, that out of the way, let's go ahead and dive into today's picks. Jumping right into the outlier screen, guys, our first pick in today's slate comes from the Rockets-Hawks game, 3 p.m. tip-off. We're going Jalen Green of the Houston Rockets over 22.5 points. Now, we're getting this line for minus 120 on BetMGM. It is available on multiple sportsbooks for varying odds. Guys, as always, make sure to go ahead and shop around for the best sportsbook odds available. It's very important in terms of finding value on these props. Shop around and find which sportsbook offers the best odds. And don't worry, no one's going to judge you. Maybe your parents, maybe some of your loved ones will judge you for using multiple sportsbooks and having multiple bets going on multiple sportsbooks. But rest assured, I and nobody here in this community will judge you for that. It's actually the smart thing to do. All right, guys, data looks halfway decent here in the recent data. The overall data is a little wonky here. The last 10 games for Jalen Green, a 50% hit rate, 5 out of 10 games, averaging 22.9 points per game over his last 10 games. Again, a little wonky. So far in 2024, just a 35% hit rate on the over. 13 out of 37 games, Jalen Green has cashed this, averaging 20.43 points per game overall this season. Now, before you guys light your torches and grab your pitchforks, let's go ahead and look at the last 5 game data, which is the reason why I really like this prop. You see 4 of his last 5 games, specifically 4 in a row, he has cashed his over, an 80% hit rate over his last 5 games. Jalen Green is averaging 27.6 points per game over his last 5 games. And the one miss he had in this last 5 game data back on New Year's Day against Dallas, he missed it by literally 1 point. And the key thing to note here is the volume of usage here. You see a lot of minutes here. He's averaging 34.8 minutes across those last 5 games. And also the shot attempts. That's the key thing here. He's averaging almost 22 shot attempts per game over the last 5 games. He's taken at least 21 field goals, 21 field goal attempts, I should say, not kicking field goals. This ain't football. 21 field goal attempts at least minimum over his last 5 games. When you have a guy taking that many shots, betting his over in points is a pretty good spot, because even if he's only shooting, let's say 50%, 10 for 21 or 11 for 21, that's pretty solid in terms of a player prop for points. As long as he continues to shoot in this range, as long as he continues to take this many shots, we got a pretty good chance of cashing. Look at the three-point attempts. He's taking almost 10.2 three-pointers per game. He's making it at a 41% clip over the last 5 games. So really good numbers for Jalen Green here, taking a lot of shots. And Atlanta overall this year, not a very good defensive team. You see 28th in points allowed, the third worst scoring defense in the NBA, giving up 119.8 points per game. Versus shooting guards, 27th, the fourth worst defense in the NBA in terms of points allowed to the shooting guard position, giving up 30.7 points per game. So you got a really solid defensive matchup. You got some really good recent data here for Jalen Green. Look at the head-to-head data too. A small sample size, but the last time he played them back on February 10th of last year, he did have 26 points in what was a 9-point loss for Houston, averaging 21 points per game over the last 2 meetings. Again, the overall data is not great, but he has been trending in the right direction with a really strong last week or so, and he's had a pretty good defensive matchup here. So I don't see why Jalen Green shouldn't go ahead and cash this over. All right, guys, our second pick from today's slate comes from the Jazz-Suns game. 5 p.m. tip-off. We're going Walker Kessler of the Utah Jazz over 11.5 rebounds, which we're getting here from -110 odds on DraftKings. Again, like the last prop, it is available on multiple sports books for varying odds. And like the last prop, the recent data is pretty solid. The overall data, a little wonky. And I know these are the props that have been driving people crazy in the comment section, saying that we changed the strategy and whatnot. The strategy has never changed. And people saying just stick with what works. If you guys mean betting the number one sort, like betting Tatum and Jokic and, Anthony Davis every single night, don't get me wrong, you're going to have winning nights betting that way because obviously they're superstars and they have big games. But the data shows you guys that if you do that consistently, it's not the best betting strategy. I understand I've been betting some bench guys and some role players and some guys like Walker Kessler, who is a solid center, but a lot of people would look at as sort of a subpar player. But these are the guys, especially at this point in the NBA season, where the value is. Because early in the year, a lot of these superstars, a lot of these starters are not playing. There's a lot more blowouts in these games. So these are the guys that do have value. So I understand betting some of these players, especially when the data isn't very good from an overall standpoint. A lot of you people I don't mean to say you people. A lot of you ladies and gentlemen are getting frustrated, but I'm telling you guys, the data shows that these are not bad plays. The recent data, the matchups, all that stuff. I know it might seem like a little bit of a reach. And I know we've had a pretty bad week, but I'm telling you guys, trust the process here. So 6 of his last 10 games, Walker Kessler has cashed this over a 60% hit rate, averaging 12.9 rebounds per game over his last 10 games. Look down below at the rebound chances. He's averaging about 21.3 rebound chances per game over his last 10 games. So a ton of rebound opportunities here for Walker Kessler. If we go ahead and narrow that down just the last 5 games, a 60% hit rate, 3 of his last 5 games, averaging 13.2 rebounds per game. And the rebound chances, again, 21 rebound chances per game average over his last 5 games. And it's not like he's playing a ton of minutes here. You see he's averaging about 29 minutes per game, which is solid, but it's not like it's, he's playing an insane amount of minutes. And again, like the last prop, the overall data is not fantastic. It's a 43% hit rate this year for Walker Kessler on this over, 13 out of 30 games, averaging 11.37 rebounds per game overall this year. But you see a lot of close misses, 11 rebounds, 11, 10. A lot of close misses. He's always hovering around this line. It is a little bit elevated also in this spot, in large part due to the matchup. Now, the head-to-head data is not great. Each of the last 3 times he faced off with Phoenix, he failed to cash the over in those spots, so that's obviously not good for us. But despite the low rebounding numbers, there were opportunities. I mean, the last time he played them back this year on December 13th, he had 13 rebound chances. He only had 5 rebounds in that game, but the opportunities were there. He just wasn't grabbing boards. We do have the insights provided by Outlier. Walker Kessler has exceeded 11.5 rebounds in 4 of his last 5 games on the road. He's averaging 14.6 rebounds per game across his last 5 road games. So pretty good data there for Walker Kessler. Looking at the matchup here, the Phoenix Suns, they are bottom 10 in the NBA in terms of rebounds allowed to the center position. 21st in the NBA, giving up 13.1 rebounds per game to opposing centers. Overall, they're about an average team, 17th in the NBA, slightly below average, giving up 44.2 rebounds per game overall as a team. And the last big data point here that makes me like this prop is the fact that John Collins is out. A lot of injuries actually for Utah tonight, but John Collins is out. If you look at the numbers here so far this year without John Collins, go ahead and do that. Games without John Collins for Walker Kessler. In 2024, so far this year, he's cashed this over in 6 out of 9 games played without John Collins. Pause for the applause. 67% hit rate, averaging 13.11 rebounds per game this year when John Collins does not play. And you'll get a couple of close misses here. 11 versus Philly, 10 versus Atlanta. So when John Collins is out, Walker Kessler grabs even more rebounds. So I think this is overall, I know the data may not seem great in an overall standpoint, but it is a pretty solid spot here for Walker Kessler. All right, guys, our third prop in today's day. We're actually going to go ahead and stick with this Jazz Suns game, 5 p.m. tip-off tonight. We got Devin Booker over 7.5 assists assists, which we're getting here for minus 115 odds on FanDuel. Again, available on multiple sports books for varying odds. Before I break down this pick, guys, we just hit the 10-minute mark in today's video. So if you are still watching, thank you. I know it's been a rough week. I know we've handed out a lot of losing plays. So those who are still watching, the fact that the viewership is still there, that people are still here and watching and supporting, appreciate you guys. Betting, and you guys are all watching this video, I would assume you're all sports bettors. You have your cold streaks, you have your hot streaks. We're currently on a cold streak, but guess what? A cold streak just means that a hot streak is coming. Maybe today we start a hot streak. Who knows? But I do appreciate those who are sticking through. So if you are watching at this point in today's video, please go ahead and comment 10 down below. Again, put a lot of hard work in these. Win or lose, we put a lot of hard work into these videos, so we appreciate those who watch all the way through. All right, so Devin Booker over 7.5 assists, and again, you guys are gonna kill me. I'm gonna get a lot of hate in the comments here. The overall data is not great. 42% hit rate on the season, 13 out of 31 games. He's cashed the over. He's averaging 6.97 assists per game. Again, I know the overall data is not fantastic, but the rest of the data is actually pretty solid here. So we go ahead and narrow this down to the last 10 games. A 60% hit rate, 6 of his last 10 games. He's cashed the over, averaging 8.3 assists per game. But again, we got to narrow this even further down to go and show you guys why I like this prop. Look at the last 5 game data for Devin Booker. 100% hit rate. Each of his last 5 games, he's cashed this over, averaging 10 assists per game over his last 5 games. Now, what has caused this? Well, it really seems like the benching of Bradley Beal has opened up more for Devin Booker. He gets more touches. He's getting more opportunities. Look at the potential assists per game over his last 5 games, averaging 13.8 potential assists per game. His last time out versus Atlanta, he had 21 potential assists and finished with 12 assists in that game. So he's getting more touches. He's controlling the ball more. This is what happens with Phoenix, why they built this team, why it's flawed, is that you have so many ball-dominant players, and it takes away from everybody, right? When Bradley Beal, Booker, and Durant are on the court, 1 or 2 of those guys are not playing their best because they don't have the ball in their hand consistently. So by benching Bradley Beal, and Beal's still getting a lot of minutes, and I think actually it's a pretty good matchup for him tonight too. If you're looking for Beal props, I don't know who is necessarily looking for Beal props, but if you are looking to bet Bradley Beal, he's actually got a pretty decent match, but I did consider putting him on the card tonight. But by moving Beal to the bench and letting Booker kind of rock in the starting lineup a little bit, it's giving him more opportunities to touch the ball, to kind of be the floor general of this offense here. And you can see a lot better. His numbers, you look at the games, again, the last 5 games, we go ahead and look at the last 10 games. You stretch that out a little bit. The potential assist numbers, they do drop a little bit. And the overall data on the year for Devin Booker, if we look at the overall in 2024 for potential assists, 12.1. So he's actually averaging a decent amount of potential assists, but you do see some of these lower spots are when he's sharing the court with Bradley Beal. The benching of Beal does seem to correlate with him increasing his numbers. Again, we exceeded in 5 straight games. That's the insight provided by Outlier. We just talked about that. The head-to-head data is also pretty solid as well. 3 of his last 4 meetings with the Utah Jazz, he's cashed the over, a 75% hit rate, averaging 8.75 assists per game against Utah. He's played them 2 times already this year. The first time back on November 12th. He only had 4 assists in that game, so not a very good spot. But the last time they played on December 13th, about a month ago, he had 8 assists in that game against Utah. And again, the key thing here is the potential assists. He's averaging 14.5 potential assists per game over the last 4 meetings with Utah. The last time they played, he finished with 8 assists, but he had 13 potential assists. And the previous time, he only had 4, but he had 10 potential assists. So as long as those potential assists are up there, we have a pretty good spot here for Devin Booker. And the overall matchup, the Utah Jazz, they are bottom 5 of the NBA in terms of assists allowed to opposing teams, 26th in the league, giving up 28.6 assists per game to opposing teams. Versus point guards and shooting guards, no matter what way you want to spin it, wherever Devin Booker slots up as a point guard or as a shooting guard, they're bottom 5 of the NBA in both those categories. So whatever way you want to spin it, whatever way they use Booker as a point guard or as a shooting guard, across the board, we got a really solid matchup here. So love this spot here for Devin Booker. And our 4th and final prop in today's slate comes from the Raptors-Pistons game, 7 p.m. tip-off. We're going Scotty Barnes of the Raptors over 26.5 points plus rebounds, which we're getting for minus 105 odds on BetMGM, so pretty good value there as well for Scotty. This one, the data across the board looks pretty solid. You see 7 of his last 10 games, he's cashed the over. It's a 70% hit rate, averaging 28.6 points plus rebounds per game over his last 10 games. So pretty good numbers there. So far in 2024, a 64% hit rate on this over for Scotty Barnes. 16 out of 25 games, he's cashed it, averaging 28.44 points plus rebounds per game this season. The head-to-head data, also pretty solid in this spot for my boy Scotty Barnes here. 67% hit rate over his last 3 meetings with the Detroit Pistons, 2 out of 3, averaging 33.33 points plus rebounds per game. He's played them 1 time this year back on November 25th, and he had a massive game, 31 points and 14 rebounds the last time these 2 teams met, and was a narrow victory for Detroit. So pretty good data across the board. We also have the insights provided by Outlier. Scotty Barnes has exceeded 26.5 points plus rebounds in 7 of his last 8 games on the road, averaging 31.6 points plus rebounds per game over his last 8 road games, and 88% hit rate on the road. His only miss was versus the Knicks, which is understandable. All the Raptors players had down games. We know because we had RJ Barrett in that spot. So yeah, pretty good data across the board here for Scottie Barnes. And on top of all that, the matchup is pretty solid here. Versus power forward, where Scottie Barnes does play a healthy amount of minutes at that position. The Pistons, 26th in points and 19th in rebounds to power forwards. Even versus small forwards, yeah, 10th in points isn't great, but 25th in rebounds. Whatever way you want to spin it, I think we've got a pretty good matchup on our hands here with Scottie Barnes against the Detroit Pistons. All right, guys, those are all 4 single bets. Those are all single bets in today's NBA slate. Thank you very much, guys, as always, for watching. One more time, please make sure to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. Again, we had a rough week this week. There's no denying that. Our single bets, I think we're 5-11 so far this week. We lost our parlay yesterday. It has not been a kind week in a unit standpoint, in a record standpoint. It's been a rough week, but you know what? It's not the first time this is ever going to happen. It's not the last time it's ever going to happen. We're going to have hot streaks. We're going to have cool streaks. Right now, we're in a little bit of a cool streak. Let's go ahead and snap that streak. Let's go ahead and warm up today, guys. I like these picks a lot. I know some of you guys might still be critical of the fact that the data is not overall fantastic, but I do think these are pretty good spots and some pretty good props to close out our week. No video tomorrow, as normal. I don't do videos on Sundays normally. Again, make sure to go and follow me on TikTok and Instagram at Tasso's Picks. We will be posting an NBA player prop parlay later on today. I just realized, though, that the game started at 3, so maybe I'll do it earlier than 3 o'clock. So within the next few hours, you're going to see an NBA player prop parlay over on my both my Instagram and my TikTok page. So make sure to go ahead and check that out, guys. I'll be back on Monday with another NBA player prop video. But until then, guys, I hope you're all winners. Enjoy your weekend. Have fun. Be safe. And let's go ahead and make some money.